It started like any other night. I had just finished a late shift at work and was heading home, the kind of exhausted that makes your limbs feel like lead. The roads were mostly empty, quiet, peaceful even. But then I noticed the headlights. Not in a normal way, not the casual glance of another driver behind me. These headlights stuck with me, like they were glued to my rearview mirror. At first, I didn't think much of it. Highway driving at night often means sharing the road with the same few cars. But when I exited onto a quieter street and those headlights followed, my stomach dropped. You know that feeling when something's just off? That's what it was. A subtle instinct gnawing at the back of my mind, whispering, "This isn't right." I turned again, another random street. They followed. Slowed down. Sped up. Still behind me. I started questioning myself, was I just being paranoid? Maybe it was someone heading the same way. But 3 turns later, still there. I turned down a back road, one of those poorly lit, narrow stretches that cut through the outskirts of town. No one takes that road unless they have to. But this car, it did. And that's when I knew. I was being followed. Suddenly, every horror movie I'd ever watched, every creepy Reddit post I'd laughed off, came crashing into my mind. This wasn't fiction. This was real. My hands tightened around the wheel. My heart began to thud in my ears, fast and hard. I did what any rational person might do, I took another turn. This time into a gas station. I thought if they were just going my way, they'd keep driving. I pulled into a pump, trying to act natural, pretending to check my phone. And the car. It slowed down, then pulled into the lot. A few pumps away. Didn't get out. Didn't move. Just sat there. Now I wasn't just nervous, I was terrified. I stared down at my phone, pretending to scroll, pretending like I didn't notice. But I was watching. Every second felt like an hour. And they just stayed there. I got out of my car slowly, stretched, like I was just stopping for a break. I didn't make eye contact. Didn't look at the other car. I walked toward the store, casually. The automatic doors slid open, and I stepped inside, heart pounding. From the reflection in the cooler doors, I could still see the car through the glass. Still there. Still watching. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I kept driving, hoping, praying, it was just a coincidence. Maybe it was someone lost, maybe someone else working late, heading home. But the more I drove, the more it felt deliberate. I took a left onto Maple Avenue, a winding road with dim streetlights and dense trees on either side. It was quiet, too quiet. I glanced at my rearview mirror again. The car turned left right behind me. No hesitation. No signal. Just smooth, calculated mimicry. That was the moment it hit me, not just suspicion anymore. Certainty. I wasn't imagining things. I was being followed. I felt my breath shorten, hands trembling on the steering wheel. I decided to test it again. I made a sudden U-turn in the middle of the street, tires screeching slightly on the pavement. The kind of move no regular driver makes unless they've missed a turn or changed their mind on the fly. The car hesitated for a beat, then it turned too. Just like that. One fluid motion, like it had expected me to do exactly that. I could feel my heart hammering in my chest. This wasn't paranoia. This was real. I started thinking about everything I'd ever read on Reddit horror threads, those stories about people who swore someone had followed them, shadowed them for hours. I used to roll my eyes at them. Thought they were exaggerated, or just creepy fiction for clicks. But now, I was living it. I glanced down at my phone, the lock screen glowing faintly in the dark. My hands were shaking too much to unlock it properly. I missed the passcode once. Then again. Finally got it open. Should I call someone? The police? A friend? I didn't want to overreact. What if it really was nothing? But deep down, I knew. I turned down another road, this one narrower and lined with small suburban houses. The kind of place where everyone should be asleep at this hour. I hoped maybe the car would stop, maybe it'd feel too exposed on this kind of street. But it didn't stop. It stayed back, always at the same distance. Never too close, never too far. Just, watching. Then something strange happened. I pulled into a cul-de-sac, thinking maybe I could lose them, double back, find a place to hide. But as I slowed to turn around, the car stopped completely at the entrance. Just sat there. No movement. No lights flashing. Just silence. As if waiting for something. Or someone. That moment, facing that silent car at the mouth of the cul-de-sac, felt like standing on a knife's edge. My mouth went dry. My legs were numb. I felt like if I blinked, the whole world might tilt sideways. I didn't know what they wanted. I didn't know who they were. But they weren't going anywhere. I turned the car around slowly, trying not to show panic, and drove right past them, trying to catch a glimpse of the driver. But the windows were tinted too dark. Just a silhouette inside. Still. Unmoving. Watching. As I passed, the car slowly began to roll forward again, creeping behind me like a shadow with wheels. My breath came in shallow gasps now. This was no longer a bad dream. This was a game of patience, and someone had all the time in the world. The moment I passed that car and saw it slowly start to follow again, something inside me snapped. I wasn't calm anymore. I wasn't calculating. I was scared. The kind of fear that crawls up your spine and doesn't let go. I gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. My breathing was shallow, erratic. Every second felt like an hour. I was thinking 100 things at once, but nothing useful, no smart plan, no strategy. Just fear. I made another turn. Then another. Tried doubling back, weaving through streets I barely knew. I didn't care where I ended up, as long as I could lose this car. But no matter what I did, it was always there. Smooth. Patient. Relentless. I turned onto a wider street, something familiar, and floored it. The tires screeched beneath me, the engine roared, and for a moment, just a moment, I felt a rush of hope. Maybe I could outrun them. Maybe I could make it to a busy road or a police station. But when I looked back, the car was still there. Not gaining. Not losing. Just keeping pace like it had all the time in the world. I took a hard right and nearly clipped the curb. I didn't care. I needed to be somewhere, anywhere, that wasn't here. I passed a row of stores, all closed. Every window was dark. I thought about stopping, banging on doors, screaming for help, but my brain screamed louder, what if they get out first? What if that's what they're waiting for? I was trapped in my own car. I pulled out my phone again, tried to dial 911. But my hands were shaking so badly I couldn't hit the numbers right. My thumb slipped. I cursed out loud. Tried again. Finally got it ringing, but before the operator picked up, I panicked and hung up. What would I say? Hi, someone's driving behind me. It sounded ridiculous even in my own head. I knew how it would go. Are they threatening you? Did they approach your car? Are you sure they're following you? And I didn't have the answers. Just fear. Just instinct. I was alone in this. I turned again, looping back into a neighborhood I recognized. It was mine. My street. My home. And that's when I realized, I couldn't go back there. I couldn't let them know where I lived. If this person was dangerous, if they had bad intentions, the last thing I wanted was for them to know where to find me tomorrow. So I drove past my street. Past the turn to safety. Into the dark unknown. I felt the tears building in the corners of my eyes. Not from sadness, pure adrenaline. I blinked hard, kept driving. And still, that car followed. There's a kind of fear that doesn't come with screams or running or monsters in the dark. It's slower. Quieter. The kind that makes your heart beat so loud you can't think straight. That's what this was. I had no plan. No safe place. Just four wheels, a tank slowly running out of gas, and a shadow behind me that refused to let go. I knew then, I wasn't going to get out of this by chance. I had to do something. Fast. I was running out of options. Every turn, every acceleration, every streetlight passed, none of it shook them. That car stuck to me like a shadow stitched to my tires. That's when I saw the gas station, another one, further from the last. This one looked open. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, one attendant visible inside through the glass. I didn't think. I just pulled in, tires skidding slightly as I angled toward the front entrance. I threw the car in park and jumped out so fast I almost dropped my keys. I made eye contact with the guy behind the counter. Young. Maybe early 20s. He blinked, confused, as I half ran to the door and pushed it open. "Hey," I said, out of breath, "someone's following me." He frowned. "What?" "That car," I pointed behind me, but it was gone. I spun around, ran to the window. Nothing but the glow of the empty lot. They hadn't pulled in. They'd kept going, or parked somewhere out of sight. The guy stepped around the counter. "You okay?" "No," I said, probably louder than I should have. "They've been following me for miles. I don't know who they are." I turned off the highway, through side streets, cul-de-sacs. They followed me every time. They parked behind me earlier. Just sat there watching. His face changed. "Serious now? Did you call the cops?" I tried. I panicked. I hung up. He grabbed a phone from behind the register. "Sit down. I'll call for you." I nodded, heart pounding, and sat in one of the plastic chairs near the coffee station. My eyes kept scanning the parking lot. Every time a car passed on the main road, I tensed up. Waiting. Watching. He came back a minute later. "They're sending someone. Shouldn't be long." I nodded again, mumbling thanks, but my eyes were still locked on the window. Minutes crawled by. I don't know how many. It felt like time stopped. The station stayed quiet. No car. No headlights. Just me, a gas station attendant, and an air so thick with tension it felt like I was breathing through syrup. Then, finally, flashing red and blue. A squad car pulled in. I practically jumped from the seat and ran to meet them. The officer stepped out, calm and skeptical. "You the one who called?" "Yeah," I said. "Someone's been following me. For a while. They were right behind me up until I got here. Then they just disappeared." He listened. Nodded. Asked for a description. I told him, dark sedan, tinted windows, couldn't see the plate, couldn't see the driver. Just a silhouette. He did a slow circle of the station in his cruiser. Nothing. No sign of the car. Nothing on the nearby streets either. When he came back, he gave me the kind of look you give someone you half believe. "Maybe it was a coincidence," he said. "Could be someone lost, or playing a prank. Still, I'll file a report. If anything happens again, call us right away." "Thanks," I said, though the words tasted like dust. I wasn't convinced. Not even a little. The officer gave the clerk a nod and drove off. The lights faded. Silence returned. I stood there, unsure what to do next. My car waited under the buzzing lights. The road ahead was dark. And somewhere, out there, that car was still waiting. I lingered at the gas station for a while after the cop left. Part of me hoped the car would reappear, so someone else could see it, so I'd know I wasn't losing my mind. But the lot stayed empty. Just buzzing lights and the quiet hum of the soda machine. Eventually, I had to leave. I couldn't stay there all night. I thanked the attendant, climbed back into my car, and pulled out onto the road with a sinking feeling in my chest. The street was quiet. The world looked normal again. Too normal. For a few minutes, nothing happened. No headlights in my mirror. No shadows creeping around the corners. It felt like a bad dream I'd finally woken up from. Maybe the officer had been right. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe they'd gotten bored. Maybe they were gone. The thought gave me hope, a fragile, flickering kind of hope. I took a deep breath for the first time in what felt like hours. My grip on the wheel loosened. My shoulders dropped. I even turned the radio back on, low volume, just to fill the silence. A couple of blocks later, I turned onto a more familiar route. The roads looked friendly again, like something I recognized, something safe. I started thinking about home. About locking the door behind me. Crawling into bed. Laughing at myself in the morning for making such a big deal out of it. I let myself believe I was safe. But then, the headlights returned. Far back at first. Just a pair of soft white orbs in the distance. I blinked hard. Looked again. They were still there. Getting closer. Not fast, just steady. My breath caught in my throat. No. No, no, no. I turned right. So did they. I turned left. Still behind me. Just like that, the nightmare came back, but worse this time, because I had tasted relief. I had started to believe it was over. And now I knew it wasn't. This time, they were smarter. They didn't follow so closely. They kept their distance. Made it easier to doubt. Easier to second guess. But I knew. It was the same car. Same shape. Same cold presence behind those dark windows. Watching. Waiting. The panic surged again. Sharper. Heavier. I started scanning the road for another gas station, a late-night diner, any place with people. But the streets were dead. Just me, the pavement, and them. I sped up. Not enough to draw attention, just enough to test them. They matched me, inch for inch. Then I tried something different. I turned off my lights for a few seconds, coasting down a gentle hill. When I flipped them back on, I checked the mirror. They'd done the same. That's when I knew this wasn't just someone being creepy. This wasn't random. It was calculated. Deliberate. I was being hunted. And whoever was behind that wheel, they were playing a long game. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't let them lead the pace. I needed to do something drastic. Anything to take back control. But deep down, a terrible thought was beginning to grow: what if this didn't end? What if this was my life now, driving in circles, always one step ahead of something I couldn't see? What if there was no escape? I didn't go home. I couldn't, not with that car behind me, stalking like a predator just out of reach. I kept driving, looping through neighborhoods, business parks, even back toward the freeway at one point. The city felt empty. Everyone else was sleeping. Everyone else was safe. And me? I was circling hell. Eventually, I cut through an industrial zone. The kind of place with warehouses and truck lots, all quiet at this hour. It wasn't smart, I knew that. No streetlights, no people, just long stretches of nothing. But I was desperate. I thought maybe I could trap them somehow. Get a better look. Force them into the open. I parked at the edge of a lot, engine idling. And I waited. A minute passed. Then 2. Silence. My heart beat in my ears. Then, headlights. Slowly, silently, they turned the corner and rolled down the street. My body tensed. I reached for my phone again, but my hand hovered. I wanted to see them first. The car passed slowly. Creeping. It didn't turn toward me, just coasted forward like it was scouting. Watching. I crouched low in my seat, barely breathing. Then it stopped. Not directly in front of me, just far enough that I couldn't make out the driver. The silhouette sat there, unmoving. We were stuck in a standoff. I don't know how long we sat like that. Maybe a minute. Maybe 5. The silence stretched out, thick and unbearable. Then the car's reverse lights flickered on. I ducked further down, panic surging. Were they coming back? Had they seen me? The car rolled back a few feet. Then the door cracked open. My stomach dropped. Someone stepped out. A figure. Tall. Dark. I couldn't see their face, just the outline, arms stiff at their sides, not walking, not speaking. Just standing beside the open car door. I couldn't breathe. They stood there for what felt like a century. Then, as if making a decision, the figure slowly turned, and got back in the car. The door shut. And the car drove away. No speed. No panic. Just a slow, steady retreat into the night. I didn't follow. I couldn't. My limbs were jelly. My brain screamed for me to drive in the opposite direction, to run as far as I could. But I didn't move. Even after they disappeared, I sat there. Staring at the empty street. Trying to process what I had just seen. Trying to understand. Why had they gotten out? What had they wanted? And why had they changed their mind? It didn't make sense. Nothing about this night made sense. But one thing was certain, I had never been more scared in my life. Whatever this was, it wasn't over. I finally pulled away, heart racing. I didn't go home. I didn't go anywhere familiar. I just drove. Anywhere. Nowhere. Because I knew the rules had changed. This wasn't just about being followed anymore. This was personal. I drove until the city gave way to the outskirts, where buildings thinned and fields stretched long and empty. I didn't have a plan. I didn't even have a direction. I just needed space, distance, a void between me and whoever had been chasing me. But even as the silence thickened and the stars blinked above, I couldn't shake the feeling that they were still out there. Somewhere. Waiting. I passed a rest stop. Deserted. I thought about pulling in, catching my breath. But what if they were watching from the shadows? What if the moment I stopped, they stopped too? I kept going. Eventually, my gas light blinked on. My stomach twisted. I'd been so consumed by fear, I hadn't watched the gauge. I needed a station, fast. 10 minutes later, I found one. It was the only building for miles, glowing faintly against the dark. I pulled in, got out, and started pumping gas with shaking hands. Every sound, wind rustling, a truck in the distance, made me jump. I checked my phone. Still no new notifications. No missed calls. I thought about texting a friend but didn't know what I'd say. I think someone's trying to ruin my life, didn't feel like something you drop at 3 a.m. When the tank was full, I climbed back in and locked the doors. I sat there, engine running, unsure of my next move. That's when I saw the shape in the mirror again. Far back on the highway. A silhouette. Headlights off. I didn't wait. I tore out of the station and onto the road, heart slamming in my chest. If it was them, they weren't bothering to hide anymore. No games. just pursuit. This time, I didn't take random turns. I followed signs, to a nearby town, any town. Lights meant people. People meant witnesses. If they wanted to corner me, they'd have to do it in the open. The town was small. Quiet. But alive. A few diners still open, a late-shift grocery store. I pulled into the parking lot of a 24-hour laundromat and backed into a corner spot where I could see every angle. I waited. Minutes passed. No car. No headlights. Then I saw it. Across the street. Parked near a dumpster behind the closed pharmacy. The silhouette was back. They were watching me. I grabbed my phone and finally hit send on a message. If anything happens to me, it's a black sedan. Tinted windows. Been following me for hours. I'm in Springville at the laundromat. Help. It went to 3 friends. I didn't care if they thought I was crazy. I needed someone to know. Then I got out. Walked into the laundromat, trying to look casual, like I wasn't crumbling inside. There were 2 people inside. One folding laundry. One asleep in a chair. I sat near the window and stared out at the parking lot, waiting for that car to move. For something to happen. Nothing did. They just stayed there. Watching. And for the first time, I wondered if this would ever stop, if there was any end to this night, or if I'd spend the rest of my life running from shadows I couldn't shake. I didn't sleep in the laundromat. I couldn't. I sat there, rigid, eyes glued to that black sedan across the street. Hours seemed to stretch and bend. At one point, I thought maybe I'd imagined it all, that stress and exhaustion had created the perfect hallucination. But then the car moved. It rolled slowly out from behind the pharmacy, headlights off, like it had been waiting for the exact moment the world turned its back. My stomach twisted. I stood up. Should I run? Call someone? Yell? Instead, I did something I hadn't done all night. I walked outside. The night air hit me like a wave. Cold. Still. Electric. The car stopped mid-street. I kept walking, slow and measured. Every step felt impossible. My heart was thundering, but I wasn't going to run. Not anymore. I had to see them. I had to know. I crossed the street, never breaking eye contact with that dark windshield. I came within 20 feet. The car didn't move. Engine idling. Silent. Who are you? I called out. No answer. I stepped closer. The driver's window rolled down. Just a few inches. It was pitch black inside. What do you want from me? I said, louder now. Still nothing. I felt like screaming. Like yanking open the door and dragging whoever it was into the light. But I didn't. I stood there, heart beating so hard I could barely hear my own thoughts. Then, from the shadows inside, a voice. Not loud. Not angry. Just, calm. We've seen enough. The words chilled me. Not because of what they meant, but because of what they didn't. No explanation. No warning. No identity. Just a quiet sentence that felt like a full stop at the end of a nightmare. We've seen enough. The window rolled up. And then the car drove away. No screeching tires. No sudden burst of speed. Just a slow retreat into the early morning fog. I stood there for a long time, not sure what to do. My legs felt like they didn't belong to me. My breath came in short, shaky bursts. That car turned the corner and vanished. I wanted to believe it was over. That I'd passed some kind of twisted test. But nothing felt resolved. Nothing felt safe. I stumbled back to the laundromat and collapsed into the chair I'd been guarding all night. The fluorescent lights buzzed above me. Someone dropped a sock. Life kept moving. But I couldn't. What did they mean? Who were they? Why me? I didn't sleep that night. I didn't go home for 2 more days. When I finally did, I kept my phone nearby, slept with lights on, avoided windows. Every time a car passed by, I held my breath. And even now, sometimes, I think I see them. Just for a second. A car parked too long. A shape in the mirror. A window rolled down just enough. Maybe they're gone. Or maybe they're still watching. When I finally did go home, it didn't feel like home anymore. The walls felt thinner. The locks weaker. Every creak in the night made my breath hitch. I barely slept. I didn't turn the lights off for days. I kept replaying everything in my head. The way the car followed me. The way they just watched. That voice, "We've seen enough." It echoed in my thoughts like a song I couldn't turn off. I changed my routine. Took different routes to work. Parked in different spots. I stopped going out at night altogether. My life shrank to a bubble of paranoia. And still, I wasn't sure if they were really gone. I started researching. Looked up stories, forums, Reddit threads. Anything that sounded even remotely similar. Stalking cases. Paranormal theories. Government surveillance. Cult activity. Every possibility more disturbing than the last. But I found nothing that matched. Nothing that felt like this. I began to wonder, was it random? Was it personal? Was it even real? Then, about a week later, something strange happened. I got a package. No return address. No markings. Just my name. Neatly printed. My heart sank the moment I saw it. It felt like the box itself was watching me. I brought it inside. Stared at it for 10 minutes before I finally opened it. Inside was a single object. A key. Just an old, rusted house key. No note. No context. I stared at it, waiting for it to make sense. It didn't. I checked all the doors in my house. None matched. I took it to my landlord, he didn't recognize it. Said it didn't match anything on the property. I even tried a locksmith. He told me it looked like it belonged to a model of house that hadn't been built in decades. Maybe even longer. That's when the anxiety turned into something worse, obsession. I kept the key on my desk, hoping it would make sense. Hoping I'd wake up one day and remember something I'd missed. I never did. Weeks passed. Then months. The car never came back. No more packages. No more voices in the night. But the fear never left. I still see them in dreams sometimes. The silhouette. The car. That moment when the window rolled down. That voice. Cold. Final. Sometimes, when I'm driving late, I catch a glimpse of a dark car in my mirror and feel the panic return, sharp and immediate. It's always just someone else. A stranger. But that doesn't matter. Because once you've felt that fear, real fear, the kind that coils around your spine and whispers that nothing will ever be the same again, it never really leaves. I don't know who they were. I don't know what they wanted. All I know is they watched. They waited. And they left me with a piece of something I'll never fully understand. And maybe that's the worst part. Not knowing if it's over. Or if it's just the beginning.